What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam, and things are going well. Every day just gets a little better since I moved in here. I started getting forward progress on the freelance thing I'm working on. I felt stuck, but it's one of those things you just got to force yourself to start doing it. And so I'm kind of I made some really good progress and I did some really cool things, and it's kind of like I had to solve problems in code that I was just like, oh, I don't want to, what's this? And I did have to wrestle with it. It was a little bit of a wrestling match, and by a wrestling match, what I'm referring to is if anybody who writes code will attest to this process, but you change a line of code, you refresh the page, you redo the sequence, whatever it is that was messed up, see if it works, and repeat. It's a very tedious process sometimes, and it was, in a nutshell, I don't want to get too technical and bore people to death, but when you're working with a theme-based system, I'm doing websites with WordPress, and I'm using themes that are pre-built, but it's more of a flexible. I don't like this theme system, to be honest. I think there's some other ones that would work better for how I work, but for now, too far into this project, everything works the way it's supposed to, but it's too much, in my opinion, it's too much hackery to make things customized the way I want them to be versus how they are out of the box. But how they are out of the box isn't terrible, but it's a lot of things that I don't want to do. So moving forward, I'll probably get a theme system that is more bare bones and basic. It's just a basic site structure with nothing designed, so that I can design the whole thing and kind of build off of an existing design. But the flip side is that when you use a theme-based system like this, when you have to build things that would be challenging to build on your own, you can get a plugin or a pre-built thing. And WordPress is by far, open source WordPress is by far the most widely used content management system on the internet. So anything that you want to do, you want to start an online store, you want to take credit card payments, you want to have an event calendar, you want to have user feedback where somebody can come in and leave testimonials and have them show up on the website, and with moderation, of course, so that it'd be like me letting all the trolls show up and just take a dump all over my site. I can actually log in and see what people are saying before I hit the approve button. And there's a million other things. And it doesn't make sense to spend 40 hours to 100 hours building some piece of functionality where there's 20 different ones that you can download for free and plug in and use, or you pay a modest fee to use, all mostly open source. Plus, when I do a website, when I'm using WordPress, for example, there are other content management systems out there. They're just not as mature, they're not as widely used, and they don't have the ecosystem of support around them. Well, one of the things that you get with a WordPress site, so if I build a website for a client with WordPress and host it where I want to host it, if the client says, up yours, Adam, I don't want to work with you anymore, I can package up all the files, the database, every single piece of this website, and hand it off and let them host it somewhere else. All you would have to do is spin up a new web host and upload backup files to a server, and you'll probably have to do a few other tweaks and fiddling with this and fiddling with that. It's not as straightforward as just copying files, but it's relatively easy, and you own all of your data. Now, on the flip side, if you go with something like GoDaddy, Host Builder, GoDaddy sucks, all these Squarespace, Wix, There's probably a dozen other cookie cutter template websites out there. WordPress.com is a kind of like Squarespace and Wix. It's not the same as open source WordPress, which is WordPress.org. There's a difference between the two. Now with WordPress.com, I'm pretty sure you can export your data and you can migrate to the open source WordPress from that platform. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming you can to an extent. But with Squarespace, Wix, and all these other fly-by-night cookie cutter websites, yes, you can log in and build your own website. You don't have to know how to write code, but you will have to learn how to use their system. And those systems can be hard to use. Each one's going to be different. Each one's going to have severe limitations because you're going to have something in your head that you want to do, and you're not going to be able to do it because you're stuck with the templates that they give you, and you're stuck with the layouts that they give you, and they might give you a little bit of room to customize, but they're not going to let you just overhaul a template and just completely build your own thing. And if you go through all of that and take the time to do that level of customization, you're stuck with that web host for good now. If you build a website with GoDaddy, if you build a website with Squarespace, Wix, all these other proprietary platforms, and you want to move to another platform because you're getting billed too much money or you just don't like it or whatever, guess what? You're starting over. You're going to start over building a new website on another platform, and it's going to have a different design. You're not going to be able to make it the same. Now, with WordPress, self-hosted, where I control not just what you see up front, but I also have access to all the files and direct access to the database. So I can access any file in the file system and manipulate those however I want, upload anything I want, take away anything I want, track it all, version control, so that if I put something in there that breaks, I can roll back right away to the previous version without having to really exactly know what I did. I can just say, roll it back to the last one where I was at. Let's just do a mulligan. Let's have a do-over here. Anytime I update a plugin, anytime I update something on someone's WordPress site, I can track and store those in a separate company's repository. My web hosting company has the ability to do that, and I'll leverage that, but I also have a completely separate repository, which is it's basically a drive on another system, but what it does is it tracks every version. So every time I make a change, I save it, the current state of the website, then I can just push it up to a server somewhere, and I have the entire history of everything I've done on that website stored, not just on my local computer, but in the cloud somewhere separate. So if the web hosting company took a dump, or if I worked on a controversial website and they kicked me off the web host, like Amazon does with AWS, I have the entire website, the database, the files that make up the website, all the image assets, everything, and all of the source code and all of the structure and everything that I would need to just spin it back up somewhere else. And so that's the advantage. WordPress, the open source version of WordPress, gives you all the things that you would get from something like Squarespace, Wix, whatever. It is easy enough for a person to use without having to know code, but it definitely is more complicated than Wix or Squarespace or one of those build-it-yourself tools. And I would not recommend using WordPress open source if you don't know how to. If you can install it and get it up and running on a website, if you can set up a web host and get WordPress up and running and log into it, then you pretty much do know enough to be able to start working with it. But if you really want to be able to build and customize and do exactly what you want, that's another level of knowledge. You'd need to know PHP, HTML, CSS, MySQL, and a few other technologies well enough to be able to know how it all ties together. I'm not an expert on some of that stuff, but I know enough to do anything I want to do. And the nice thing about WordPress is whenever I do get stuck, I can find an answer somewhere. But a lot of it's just hackery. So I sat here today. The theme that I'm using has a main navigation menu, and it behaves a certain way. When you collapse your browser window to a certain width, it changes into a mobile menu with the hamburger icon, and you have to click that icon to open and expand and collapse the menu. And I didn't like the breakpoint, which is the width, where that triggers the event to happen. Because I wanted to put more links in the nav bar and have them go across the top of the page as long as there's room to show them across the top of the page. And the way that this thing was set up didn't allow me to do that. It would get to a certain width and just snap. And so I had to do some hackery because that's baked into some files that are pretty deep in the system. And there's, like anything out there, there's 10 different ways I could have approached this. But the easiest way to fix it was to just do some hackery in some custom CSS to force things to take place in at a different breakpoint than what the theme was trying to force me to do. So instead of 960 pixels wide, it collapses and does this, changes the menu format. I wanted it to be 1100 pixels wide. And then I wanted to be able to have the ability to customize that width anytime I want. So if I add 4 links to the main nav bar, I want it to be something like 1200 pixels wide where it collapses. And so it allows me to completely customize this navigation bar. Plus, I can apply this to other websites I'm building that are going to have custom nav bars. And now I generally have a hacky solution that works. I'll probably go and optimize my code a little bit down the road, but it took I started that at about, how long did that take? Just fiddling with that menu to put an extra link in the menu and have it be what I wanted it to be. 2.5 hours just to do that. But that's not a lot of time for a buggy thing like that. And then I put in a little bit more time on just cleaning up this one page that I designed. So I'm going to talk about this guy, his website, and I got a whole video to show you. It's like an hour and a half long of an interview I did with him, and I'll be able to get what am I trying to say here? I just want to put a couple of more touches on this website before I start showing it to people. I guess I'm a perfectionist. He's already showing it to people. He loves it. I feel like I need to put a couple more clickable things and a couple more pages of content in there, because there's a couple. It's just coming along, but not as fast as we wanted. But now I'm in a mindset. I'm in a good space. The probation officer stopped by today. That was an interesting. He was like all apologetic. He was like, man, he's like, I'm just doing what I have to do. He's like, you're at the bottom. He told me I'm at the bottom of his pile. So a lot of these federal officers have, from what I understand and from what I've seen, a federal probation officer might be managing 100 or more cases at once. And so he told me, he said we're complete in terms of everything that he's required to do on my case. I've fulfilled all the obligations. what did he say? He said he'll double check and make sure, but he said there's nothing else that we need to do. He's by the book. So he's like, there's nothing else that I'm required to do except, when I move, he's required to come and see the place. When I move, he's required to come and see the place. And so that, that's how it was. I mean, he was here and gone 5 minutes. He told me on Wednesday that he'd be coming today. He gave me 2 days notice there. And then today, about an hour before he got here, he sent me a text. He's like, I'm leaving now. I'll be there in about, he didn't even say like, I'll be there in an hour, but he goes, I'm leaving now. I'll see you in a bit. And it was like, it was less than an hour, but I'm pretty sure he was coming from Houston, downtown, to come here. And so I was like, well, this is going well today. I'm going to ask him about early release. And so the way he put it, he says, if you file the motion, have a lawyer do it, however you do it, I won't oppose it. He's like, but I'm not going to write you a letter of recommendation, I guess, is what he put it. He's like, I don't really want my name being out there. Like, he kind of I think he just wants to go to work, do his job, do what he's supposed to do, and kind of not get entwined. Like, another way to put it would be, oh shit. Another way to put it, well, isn't that nice? Hold on a second. I'll talk while I'm doing this. All my hard drives just got disconnected because I bumped the desk, which that shouldn't happen, but this little plug, the plug where they plug into my MacBook is, all right, how many times? Hold on, I have to, here we go. They're all connected. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's one missing. See if it shows up. It's one that, so there's a couple things I can talk about there, but the way I kind of understood it from the way he kind of talked about it, it seemed like a situation where he doesn't want to recommend somebody get early release, and then that person turns around and does something shitty or fucks up again, and then his name's going to be on there as you recommended this guy get early release, and then look at what happened. The bank robber was a good boy for his whole probation, so the probation officer recommended early release or whatever, and then all of a sudden he went and robbed another bank after he got off probation. And so that's kind of like that's the vibe I got. He said he would remain neutral, which means he won't oppose it, and he won't recommend for or against. He just he won't oppose it, but he won't come out right and like push for it either. He just kind of wants to, you do what you do. Do it. He said you're eligible. He told me I was eligible. He said you should be eligible statutorily speaking, so you may as well try. He's a decent guy. I mean, the other person that he came with, they always travel in pairs, buddy system. They always have to have a partner when they go to see somebody, which, duh. So I gotta figure what's going on with my hard drives here. I have to use a full USB to USB-C adapter to plug my hard drives into my laptop, and that connection is not as solid as I would like it to be. Oh, well, of course you did. Right. So now I should be able to plug this in. I had to safely eject all the disks, plug them back in. I got 5 hard drives hooked up to this Mac. and so it can be a little finicky. I use a powered USB hub, which that's important. If you have that many hard drives, external hard drives, they're not solid state, they're traditional spinning disk drives. They draw power from your MacBook or from your laptop if you plug them in. So if you plug in 5 of these things all at once, your hard drives are going to disconnect and reconnect and get a little shitty because they don't have enough power, and you could actually hurt your data. So you want to use a powered USB hub when you're connecting that many drives to a computer, because then the power coming from the wall through the transformer into the hub will supply all the power that everything needs that's plugged into it, and you're not pulling the power from your Mac anymore. And so with that, I have one of the things, so the video schedule. It's Friday the 13th, baby. Friday the 13th. And I thought that was ironic that probation's coming to see me on Friday the 13th. Like, is he going to be wearing a hockey mask? Is he going to be, boy, if anything were going to go wrong with the probation officer coming to see me, it would be Friday the 13th, wouldn't it? So anyway, anyhow, it went smooth and everything was fine. But the one thing that's not going fine is my hard drive space. I've talked about this in a couple of videos, and I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I'm throwing files here and there and just trying to suck up whatever free space I have, because videos take up a lot of room. And I'm not even recording these videos at a high resolution. I'm doing them 30 frames per second at 1080p. I'm not doing 4K 60 frame per second video. Oh my God, that would be insane, the amount of disk space that would take up. And so for what I'm doing, it's not even worth it. If I was doing some high-end videography, cinema quality stuff, high production level stuff, if I turn into Mr. Beast on YouTube and I have, a set of red cinema cameras to do all of my filming with, and a film crew and a camera crew and an editing crew, and then you'll see some 60 frame per second 4K video, drone footage and everything else under the sun. But no, just to be a dude sitting in a chair, that ain't happening. But I have this one hard drive that I relegated a while back to being my music collection, because it's small. How big is it? It's it's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. That's where I'm at. I have a 500 gigabyte hard drive plugged in that I only put music on until now. I'm just dumping video files to it, and that's going to fill up. That'll fill up pretty quick. But it's just buying me more time. And I do have another empty hard drive that's like a travel drive. That's what I call it. To where if I'm on a road trip, that's the drive I throw in my backpack and dump camera files to from my photography. And so that I can keep my camera cards from being filled up. If I go on a 10-15 day road trip, I'm gonna have to stop at least once, maybe twice, dump all the files from the cameras onto this hard drive so that my camera cards are empty again. And I do have lots of camera cards, because I was doing this for a long time. But, so that is an issue. So what I decided I would do, the options were get a couple of 5 terabyte drives, and it was going to cost about $150 to $200, somewhere in that range, depending on where I get them. 5 terabyte drives, a pair, so that I can put files on one back up to the other. Instead, what I've decided to do is spring for one 14 terabyte hard drive and start using it. And I'll just keep the hard drives that are kind of like, I have another photo library drive that's kind of full, and I'm not putting video files on it anymore. But this 14 terabyte drive, what I'll do is I'll start using it fresh, and I'll just start putting video files on it and photography and whatever else, but video files primarily right now. And then I have this empty one I just mentioned. It's a 5 terabyte drive. So I'll back up the 14 terabyte drive to the 5 terabyte drive using rsync, which is a command line file synchronization tool. And that'll buy me enough time. It's going to take a while to have 5 terabytes of video. A couple of months. It'll take some months to do that. It's hard to know exactly how long, but how big is this drive? A 2 terabyte drive, I got to the point where it's almost full in about 2 months, roundabouts. So, and that drive already had about 500 gigs worth of other stuff on it. So 1.5 terabytes took me a couple of months. So a 14 terabyte drive is going to take a year or more at my current pace before that becomes blown out. But for the first 5 terabytes, I'll just back up the stuff to a 5 terabyte drive that I have sitting in here. And that'll give me 2-3 months of not having to buy 2 14 terabyte drives, because Best Buy has them right now $200. I know somebody suggested to buy hard drives off of Temu dirt cheap. No. Not if you care about your data. No, I would not buy number one, I wouldn't buy a used hard drive. I wouldn't mind using a hard drive that's already been used, but specifically for what I'm doing, hell to the no. No, I would not do that. I'll buy brand new hard drives and no SSDs, for the purpose of an SSD drive can only be written back and forth a number of times before the data just gets corrupted and the drive dies. Regular mechanical hard drive are more reliable, in my opinion, for longer term file backup and storage. So that's going to handle my backup needs for at least a month or two, couple of months. I'm going to say 2 months at least, and then I can come up with another $200 to buy another 14 terabyte drive, and then I can start juggling the data around. I can start putting stuff. I can move a bunch of shit to the 14 terabyte drives. And that will leave me with at least 2 5 terabyte drives that are completely empty and unused. Or I can repurpose those for something else. But at some point, it will leave me with extra hard drives that are empty. 5 terabytes, a pair of 5 terabyte drives at least. So what can happen then is, as the 14 terabyte drive gets full, and I'm like, now I gotta go get something else. I gotta get some bigger drives or another pair of 14s or whatever. I can go back to those empty 5 terabyte drives and start using them until I can figure out what the hell I'm gonna do next. And then, just keep going from there. Ultimately, I would rather have all my stuff on one drive and then backed up to a separate drive so that they're a mirror of each other. And I don't do a RAID array. I'm doing manual backups. I take the backup drive. So the drive that I'm using primarily stays plugged into my MacBook when I'm at my desk. It's mounted and it's there and the files are there, and I work from the drive. I don't put files that I'm working on my internal hard drive, because the cleaner that you keep your internal hard drive, the faster your computer will run. And so I keep very little stuff on the internal drive. And so as a result, the computer's fast. And the external drives are fast enough that I don't run into issues with speed, except for this one drive that I'm going to talk about in a second. But so a pair of 14 terabyte drives get full, I'll get a pair of 30s down the road. And the prices come down too. So a year from now, it's all going to be cheaper. And so I want to have all of my photos, my photography, video files, all the stuff for the YouTube channel, Etsy, and my photography library all in one place. Most two. At most split across 2 drives. But let's just say they're all in one place. Then I have another hard drive that matches it. And what I do is I take the backup drive, I plug it in to an empty port on my Mac. I'll run rsync, this synchronization tool. When the 2 hard drives are in sync, I disconnect the backup drive and I leave it someplace not plugged into anything. And so what that will do is, if in the event of a power outage, a power surge, or anything like that, all of my data are on hard drives that aren't plugged into anything, and they're just, I have a Faraday bag. I'm not using it right now. I could put the hard drives that I'm not using in a Faraday bag and just keep them stored somewhere in a Faraday bag, so that if there's a lightning strike, or heaven forbid an EMP, or who knows what the fuck is coming this way, I should be able to pull those drives out of the Faraday bag and the files should be intact. So that's a first level of backup. 1 is none, 2 is 1, they say. But in my old house, when I lived out in Amish country, I had a hard drive. I didn't have that many files back then. I wasn't doing as much with video, so my entire photo library fit on a 5 terabyte drive. And that was 25 years worth of photography on a 5 terabyte drive. High-res, raw image files, and everything else to do with my photos. It wasn't until I got doing video work more frequently that those drives would just fill up. But still, photography still has, it's still not as crazy as videos. And so I had a hard drive hooked up to a router inside my house. And then out in my office, which was a separate building, the main drive that I worked off of on my computer in the office was hooked up to my computer at all times, and that's the drive where I worked from. So once in a while, I might bork up and screw up a file, and I can go back to the backup drive in my house, mount it, just call it up, and say, hey, I need to get that file, go get the file, bring it back over to the primary drive, and then do a synchronization to make sure everything's in sync. So that saved me a few times here and there. Another thing that I do, but I'd only do it for the files, the only files that I do this for are my business when it comes to like website design and files that aren't ridiculously huge, like videos. I use Time Machine on the Mac. So I have all of my files that I do my website design work, and any of my design work, or anything that's not photography and anything that's not video work. It gets backed up with Time Machine on the Mac, which stores all the version history going back in time. But it also has another synchronized hard drive for all of those files to get backed up to. And I just run that synchronization script once in a while, whenever I, change things enough. And so I'll have 2 hard drives that are completely in sync with all of my project work, plus an extra Time Machine drive that has all of it, plus all the version history of all of it. And so I'm always thinking, because if you've ever lost a batch of work due to a hard drive or a mechanical failure or just a dumb mistake. Back in the mid-90s, I lost a week's worth of work at a design studio I was working at, all because I dragged a folder onto my desktop that had the same name as the folder that had all the files in it. And it overwrote the folder that had all my files in it, and we tried for 3 fucking days to get everything back, and we couldn't. And we had backup systems. We had backup systems back then. They were shit compared to what we have now, but we could not get these files back for anything. And I had to redo a week's worth of work. And it pissed me off. And I'm telling you, ever since then, as far as I'm aware, I've never lost a project. I've never lost work. I did have one file go bad once. I had a corrupted file once that I had spent all day on, one day. And the file got corrupted. And it was too much, and the deadline was too close. And I'm like, fuck. And a friend of mine had a tool that he could take the file that I had an output file. I didn't have the master file, but I had an output file, and he had a tool that could take the output file and create a master from it. And it was shitty, and it was a mess, but it got me to meet the deadline because he was able to reverse engineer the file and get me back to where I was before the thing happened and before the file got all messed up. And from then on, you bet I never missed a time machine backup after that. Fuck that. Time machine would have saved my ass that day. It would have been 2 minutes instead of 2 hours of my life. So, but then there's another thing I need to do. Because what happens if a tornado shows up and blows the trailer park all to hell? What happens if a hurricane, heaven forbid, a hurricane in Houston, we've never heard of those before, right? What happens if a hurricane comes and blows my house to smithereens? What happens if a lightning strike hits and my place burns to the ground? What if the electrical's bad in here and it burns to the ground? What if? Even though I have 2 copies of everything on separate hard drives and hard drives that aren't even plugged into anything, they could burn to the ground. I could put the hard drives in a fireproof safe. In a Faraday bag. I could put the hard drives that I'm trying to keep safe in a Faraday bag inside of a fireproof safe. You know, a small fireproof box. But that probably won't save the hard drives from being destroyed by fire because the temperature inside that fireproof box is gonna melt shit. It's gonna get hot. It may be salvageable. There's a couple dudes on YouTube that do some pretty amazing work. But what happens in that situation? So 1 is none, 2 is 1. What's number 3 gonna be? And so cloud storage is fucking ridiculously expensive, especially when you're dealing with terabytes of data. And so I did have some companies bookmarked. Back in the day before I was arrested that I was going to use their cloud storage for. And it was I wish I had the companies. I looked in my old Evernote file. I looked in Notion because I was using Notion before I was arrested. I tried to find the one company that I was thinking about using after I had done some research. But it was a situation where you can buy storage space from a cloud company and it's a one-time fee, it's a lifetime fee. And you can just keep buying more as you need it. And to get 20 terabytes was reasonable. It was about as much as a fucking hard drive would cost. The problem is some of these companies are fly by night. So if you do a lifetime purchase like that and the company goes out of business, what happens to your data? Poof, gone. Shit's gone. What do? So, and then there are other companies that are, not fly by night. But do I want to spend $3,000 a year keeping my data backed up? No, fuck no. That's way too much money. I'm not a Fortune 500 company to afford that level of shit right now. Maybe someday $2,000 to $5,000 a year to keep my data backed up, terabytes worth of data, is not going to be a huge business expense. But that's a B2B expense. That's not home, freelance guy expense. So I did a little research yesterday, and there's a company called Backblaze, my bad. At least they're not called Backshots. Some 13-year-old boy would have had to put them in their place. But anyway, it's called Backblaze. And they have different solutions at different pricing tiers. They have a business-oriented cloud storage solution that is $6 per terabyte per month, but per month. So if I'm backing up 20 terabytes worth of stuff, that's $240 a month. That's still, no, that's a hard drive every month. The 14 terabyte hard drive is $200. So what I mean, it would actually be cheaper for me to back up my hard drives and then take them over to my friend's house and say, hey, can you store these for me? Or buy a couple of big ass hard drives, take them over to my friend's house and say, hey, can you put these on your network so that I can use them as my backup, my off-site backup? Would you be cool with that? He'd probably be fine with that because I'm not going to be tapping into his bandwidth too heavily. But that's still a big ask for somebody, you know what I mean, to have all my files at somebody else's house, especially when I'm on, federal probation and I've been known to, have the FBI drive a tank into my house over computer shit. So it's probably not the best thing to ask for right out the gate, especially if I could do it myself and not have to rely on, whether my friend is home or not if something goes wrong. And so they've got another tier for like personal use, but they call it, they basically just call it computer backup pricing, and they have a personal plan and a business plan. They're the same price, $9 a month. The only difference between the business plan and the personal plan is that the business plan, you can have multiple people have login access to it, and I think it can handle multiple computers. Manage multiple computers is a check mark. So I don't know. It's basically meant for your computer and everything attached to your computer, including all of your external hard drives. And it's kind of like Time Machine. It does a version backup. So if you modify files, it will back up those modified files and keep your previous version up to, I think it was 30 days to 90 days or something. There's a countdown timer of when you modify a file, all the previous versions of that file will be available for a certain amount of time, but that won't be forever. But it's unlimited space for $9 a month. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I looked into this. There's a lot of people using it, and on certain Reddit forums, I'm not a fan of Reddit, but a lot of information can be found there when you need to find information about stuff. So I have a Reddit account, and the only Reddit posts that I put up, I didn't troll a company, but I reported that I'm having the same bug with Notion that other people have been reporting for over 2 years, because I'm trying to get Notion to fix the fucking thing. But they don't care. Unless enough people have the bug and bitch about it, they won't ever fix it. But I was looking up Backblaze, like, is it good? So the pros are, it's $9 a month, or you can pay $99 a year, but I would do the monthly for now. And you get unlimited storage space. So that's my off-site backup. If you have a problem and you need like a disaster recovery scenario, they'll take your data and put it on a hard drive and FedEx the hard drive to you for free, as long as you send the hard drive back in a certain amount of time. And if you don't send the hard drive back, they'll just charge you for the hard drive. And right now they will mail you an 8 terabyte hard drive. So you can go through your backup files, choose 8 terabytes worth of stuff that you want, have it put on a hard drive, sent to you, pull the stuff off, send the hard drive back, and you can get, so for 20 terabytes worth of stuff, you'd have to do 3 hard drives. I think they'll only send you one at a time, so it could take a few weeks to get all your shit back in a disaster recovery scenario. Or you can download it. You can download your files from them. They're compressed, and it's going to be a pain in the ass, but they do have, from what I understand, they have a desktop app now where you don't have to download a million zip files and figure out how to put them all back together. It will do the job for you. But can you imagine what 20 terabytes worth of data would take? If, let's say, my connection speed's about 500 megabits per second. So download time based on speed calculator here. Let's say 20, is there a TB? 20 terabytes, terabytes, there we go. 20 terabytes at 500 megabits per second is 88 hours, 53 minutes, and 20 seconds of download time, continuous. So if you have 20 terabytes of shit on that platform and you can download it at the speed of 500 megabits per second, that's 88 hours straight. That's 3 straight days of downloading to get that stuff back. When I get new hard drives and I want to transfer 5 terabytes from one drive to another, forget about it, man. That's like an all-day affair. Even when both drives are plugged into my Mac at the fastest speeds that the USB port can handle, USB 3.0 or whatever it is, I don't know. I think my current Mac is USB 3. If I can run the transfer at the top of the line speed that the computer supports, that's like an all-day thing. That takes hours to do. If you're doing it over a Wi-Fi network, it's even worse. There was a couple of times where I emptied out a hard drive in my house, and then I did an rsync from the office to the empty hard drive. It would take like 6-7 days, 6 to 8 days. It would take a whole week. I would just have rsync going off in the background, but every now and then something might interrupt that, or I might have to shut off my computer, or a power outage, or whatever the case may be, and I've got to restart the synchronization process. And rsync is very good at picking up where it left off, and it doesn't give a fuck. You can pull the plug right in the middle of the process, and when you run the process again, it'll pick right up where it left off. It's really reliable in that regard. So it's very safe. If your Wi-Fi network, if my Wi-Fi went down for some reason, because it was all hacky in that house anyway, but then I'd have to come back out and be like, fuck, rsync, back, hit the up arrow, hit enter, run it again. And I'd be doing that for 8 days. 8 days or so to do a full 5 terabyte backup over the Wi-Fi network. 5. So let's go down to like 50 megabits per second. That's 888 hours. 888 divided by 24. That's 37 days of downloading files without interrupting your computer or your connection going bad or anything going wrong. 88 straight days of just download, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 50 megabits per second. It's going to be dependent on what the server can serve the files to you at, more than your download speed that's available. You might have a connection that's pinging at 500 megabits per second, but the server you're trying to get the files from might feed them to you at 20 megabits per second and no faster. That's 2,222 hours to get 20 terabytes. So that is 93 days. 93 days of hitting a download button and waiting for 93 fucking days to get all your files, if nothing goes wrong. So This cloud backup solution is like disaster recovery. It truly is. It's not meant. Or let's say, because they do version history and all of that, let's just say I bork a file, a Photoshop file, and I ruin it beyond repair, and Time Machine isn't helping me, and my other backup is out of sync, and I'm like, shit, I need this file. I can go to this cloud storage, navigate to that file, and say I want to download yesterday's version of this file that you have up on the cloud. Download one file and be like, okay, cool, I'm back at it. Let's say a folder goes bad, full of photos from a trip. For whatever reason, I can't get into that directory anymore on the drive and the photos, but the rest of the drive is fine. Well, let me download that folder again from the backup, and then we'll see what, and then I'm going to run disk first aid and reformat this drive and, whatever I got to do to fix the hard drive. But now that hard drive's kind of telling me it's not reliable anymore if that happens. So for $10 a month to have full backups of everything on my computer, including every external hard drive plugged into it, it's not a bad price. The only drawback is if I disconnect a hard drive, then I believe the backup system will assume that I deleted everything. And so 30 days later, that hard drive I disconnected might not be there anymore. That was one thing that came up. But if you don't run a backup for a long time, it's not going to delete the latest version of everything. So I don't really know exactly how it works and how good it is, but a lot of people rave about it, and a lot of people have said that it's saved their ass. And to get 3 hard drives in the mail that are 8 terabytes apiece, get my files recovered, save them somewhere, or just buy the 3 hard drives from the company, have them sent to me and keep them, and then just have my files again. Whatever they charge for that, I don't know. Let's see what they charge. Blah, blah, blah. AI is telling me, yo, what's this? So it's looking like, now I read on the website that it's free if you send the thing back. But now I'm reading, mailed hard drive. It says right here on the sign up page, a mailed hard drive, encrypted USB drive with your business data shipped worldwide, free upon return of the drive within 30 days. But it says here and somewhere else that, where am I seeing this? Now it's saying that USB hard drive restores are $279. Or somebody is saying that you get charged $279 and then you get refunded when you send the drive back. Shipping and taxes are on you. Oh, it used to be $189 to have a backup made. So if in a horrible disaster were to take place and I lose all my shit, I'd have to spend $279 times 3, which is $837 to have all my data sent to me on 3 hard drives. But then if I send them back, I can get refunded everything except the shipping and taxes. Or I can just keep the hard drives and keep my shit. Okay. I mean, it's... And that's like that's a flat out like trailer park. Tornado comes and wrecks my fucking trailer home. It's over. But anyway, so this is, I'm not doing it today, but it's definitely on my list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 14 terabyte drive. It's going to cost $200. I'm getting that much from YouTube ads this month. So that's, YouTube is going to pay for my YouTube hard drive. I just can't do it right this minute because I want to keep a certain amount of money in the bank for who knows what. And so then after I get that, I'm going to sign up for this Backblaze thing and just have an extra. The point is I don't want to ever have to use it. If I'm using it, it's because something really went wrong, and it's $10 a month for peace of mind. And $99 a year if I get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I want to save a few bucks. And just let it roll. But anything like, Dropbox and Google Drive and Apple, whatever the fuck, or any of these things, if you start getting into some serious file sizes, then you're screwed in terms of money. You're going to be dropping serious funds. Amazon has cloud storage just to store files for backup purposes. Azure has it. All the big cloud companies offer this shit. It's just expensive. It's really expensive. So expensive that you could probably, it would be cheaper to get extra hard drives and keep them in a safe deposit box at the bank and just pay those fees and just go to the bank and get your hard drives once a week. And, but I mean, it's more convenient to do it this way. For $10 a month, I think it's worth a shot. So that's what I'm going to do to keep my sanity in terms of not losing my work. But backing up your stuff is important. Backing up your stuff is very important. The work is way more valuable than the equipment. I'm upset that my photography equipment got treated really bad, and it's I'd be using it right now if it weren't for the fact that shit got trashed. And I have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and really take every single thing out of every single bag and look at it and evaluate whether it's still good or not. And I had already done that when I came home from prison and everything was fine. And then somebody was storing it for me and they put it in a moldy fucking room in a basement, thinking it would be fine, and it was the worst possible place you could have put that shit. But I'm more concerned with the work, the photography itself, not the equipment can be replaced. Photos that I took over a span of 25 years of traveling, that shit can't be replaced. Photos of my kids can't be replaced. Those things so I definitely, the equipment's one thing, but if I lost all my files, oh man, I would be in a bad mood. And right now I just feel now if I were to do a complete backup on this Backblaze, and I've got I don't have 20 terabytes of shit right now, but it's going to take months of running this backup app in the background just to push all my shit up to this platform for backing it up. So that'll take longer than a day when you're backing up that much stuff. My internet service provider is going to be like, what the fuck is this guy doing? When they see the bandwidth that I'm using every month, but I supposedly have unlimited bandwidth. We'll find out, won't we? If that's true. But on the flip side, the one thing that I'm doing to rob Peter to pay Paul, I've got this hard drive. It's a 500 gigabyte hard drive. I was storing music on it. And it's formatted as hard drives have different formats for different computers and operating systems. And one of the formats that is more universal is called exFAT. And it's a Windows format drive, but it will work on a Windows computer and a Mac and a Linux machine. It'll work on just about any computer, but the drawback is it's really fucking slow. So all the drives that are connected to my Mac that are important to me are all formatted with the Mac OS format so that they can be as fast as possible, and the Mac has the least amount of trouble with them. But I have a couple of hard drives that I want to be able to plug into a Windows computer and get stuff off of them if I need to. Because I have a Windows Surface tablet that I almost never use, but if I need to get stuff on a Windows computer, I want to be able to plug that drive in and be able to get my files. And you can't plug a Mac formatted drive into a Windows machine and have it work, not without a bunch of hackery and bullshit. So I started copying my video files from my phone to this exFAT drive because I'm running out of space. And now, the last time I copied my videos from the phone to this drive, it took 3 fucking hours when it would normally take 15-20 minutes because of how slow it was. And I had to copy the files one at a time because anytime I'd select 2 or 3 and move them over all at once, it would freeze about halfway through a copy of a file, and I'd have to start the process all over again, including unplugging the phone, plugging the phone back in, selecting file transfer from the menu, opening, closing, and reopening the file transfer app on my Mac, navigating to the directories that I need to go to move the files from one to the other. And it was ridiculously complicated and took forever, to the point where I don't even want to do it again. But I'm kind of stuck with that until I get this extra hard drive. And so that's motivating, that's lighting a fire under me to go get this done as quickly as I can, which will probably be, I would say by the end of the month I'm gonna do it. I mean, I need to get a bed. I think the love seat and the footstool and the bicycle workspace, that's off the table for the next month or so. I want to get a car. I want to be timely about that. I would say I would rather get a car than a bed. Probation officer is like, "You're still sleeping on that fucking cot?" I'm like, "Yeah." But it's not that. I told him, I'm like, it's not as bad as it looks. It's a memory foam pad. It's not. You'd call that glamping if that was in a tent. You'd be like, "Oh, you're a high roller sleeping on that." But when it's in your apartment, you're a squalor. You're living in squalor. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, everything's working out. And the probation officer, who knows when I'm going to see that guy again. We're going to be in, all I have to do is just not fuck up. And we should be all good. He even said today, I told him, we were talking about jobs, and I told him about how I had a job at the company in Houston, and what the salary was going to be. And I said, yeah, but when the criminal background came up, they were like, pfft. And he said, yeah, he's like, the charge that you have is going to make it extremely difficult for you. He's like, I understand that. He's like, but keep doing what you're doing. He's like, it sounds like he's like, just don't give up. That's basically, his advice was just don't give up. He's like, he didn't seem like he's going to beat me up too hard for that. And I said, look, I'm looking for I'm looking for a job to replace because they look at me, they're like, you ride 21 miles each way to go to your bakery job? My God, how many days a week do you do that? I'm like, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. Usually 5 would be the limit on that. Next week, I told them I would work a little more because they're going to be shorthanded, and I said, you can put me on the schedule. We're going to talk probably tomorrow, being Saturday. Yeah, tomorrow we'll talk. And I'm just going to go from there. Everything's tight. Everything's difficult. But I'm in a much better place mentally than I was at that other place. I think, the probation officer, he's like, yeah, this is a much nicer place. He said, it looks like shit on the outside. And I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree. He's like, but it looks a lot nicer inside than it does on the outside. He's like, I'm a little bit surprised. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And as far as the video schedule goes, by the time you're seeing this, I'm trying to get it back in sync. So what I'm doing is I'm uploading a big batch of videos all at once. This is what I've been doing for weeks. I'll upload a big batch of videos, as many as I can do in a day. And then I will put the titles, descriptions, tags, and the thumbnail images on all of them at once. One after the next, after the next. It's a process. But then I'll schedule them for one day each. This one's tomorrow, this one's Wednesday, this one's Thursday, etc., etc. When I get to Sunday, I'll start going backwards and I'll stack them so that more than one video shows up per day. And on a few cases, I've had 5 videos show up in a single day. And it's because I'm just trying to churn through the videos that I shot through this whole process, but still give me the flexibility that a video shows up every day, but I may not have time to do this shit every day. And so today being Friday, I have 3 videos scheduled to go up today, 3 for tomorrow, and 3 on Sunday. That's 9 videos in 3 days. And what will happen is Sunday I should have time to push more videos up to try and get it so that Monday through Sunday there will be a new video every day. But if I get backed up or if I get screwed or whatever the case may be, or Saturday I realize I'm not going to have any time, I can take the videos that are there and push them out until Tuesday. And then Tuesday I should be able to find enough time to get another batch of videos scheduled and then do the same thing again. And as long as I keep doing that to where I'm putting up 3 to 4 videos a day in stretches of 3 or 4 days of that, and I'm only recording 1 video a day as I move forward right now, eventually it'll get to the point where the video is caught up and it's a day or 2 off from when I recorded it. I would like to get back to where I'm doing a video a day, but it's not the same. It's different now. I'm not homeless and I have more stuff going on. So, it is what it is. Now, at some point, I want to start doing a live stream. So I will, but I don't want to do that until I'm all caught up with this. And then maybe just once a week, I'll do a live stream on whatever day makes sense. Probably a weekday evening or something. I don't know, because I know there's different time zones and you can watch a live stream after the fact. So it's not like you have to be there watching it live, but the cool thing about a live stream is you can jump into the comments, you can jump into the troll chat and you can live troll the stream, or you can ask me questions and you can decide the direction that we're going to go. I'll think of a topic or something and I'll just start going, but you can stop me in the middle of a train and change direction, switch the tracks. We'll go a different way. So that'll be fun. And my upload speed right now should support that without too many issues. At least I can try it. At the tiny house, it wasn't going to work. It just wouldn't work. Here, I don't really have problems with Zoom meetings, So that's the next step, is doing live streams. I could even get to the point where I hook up StreamYard and can simulcast to YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Odyssey, and there's probably 6 others that I'm not thinking of, but do it all simultaneously and have, a regular thing where we do a live stream and have a good time. So I'm taking it one day at a time. I've got some plans, and I'm trying to prioritize the plans, but I also know that things don't always go according to plan. So we'll go from there. And but anyway, till tomorrow, till the next time we meet, I'll say peace out for now.